right, so welcome everybody to our September 12th Village Board meeting. We have a lot to go over today. I'm excited to draw here to share any information that we have to offer. So again, let's get started. I'd like to lead off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, is there anybody that's here for public comment? Please raise your hand and I'll acknowledge you. You're first, come up, introduce yourself, address, and you got 3 minutes.
Okay, right now?
Can we share as a couple?
What?
Can we share as a couple?
Sure. You're still 3 minutes.
All right.
You don't get 6.
Alrighty. Okay. All right. I think we can do it.
Well, hello, my name is Ben Curtis, and
I am Cassie Fireman. We live, I don't think, is that on? Can you hear me just the same here? Okay, then I won't do that. We both live here in Rhinebeck.
at 6532 Springbrook Avenue, adjacent to the fairgrounds.
Yes. So.
And we're here to talk about both the impacts on local business, mental health, as well of the fairgrounds, as well as how we might be able to help this fair actually help the local people rather than piss everyone off and upset them, which is what, from the people I've spoken to, the experience. So do you want to share about your experience?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, this is my first meeting and it's really cool. And hello, everybody. It's so lovely to meet you. I grew up with in a military family where we were like moving all the time. So we never had this opportunity of being in a village like experience. So I think it's very interesting. So thank you for letting me be here. We live right in front of the fairgrounds. And yes, it's very wonderful. It's very loud. I think a kid like puked on a ride and it was like in the inside of my fence where I like sit and read my book. But also like, you know, like we asked the guy where all the rides were, like, hey, could you just turn the horn down a little bit, like by 10 p.m. or something, because we both work from home, and he was really sweet about it. And I think part of why we're here too is because we're just curious about the space, like the field that's just adjacent to it, like right across where I think that all of the fair takes place. If there's like an opportunity to possibly maybe shift the rides to another location, or maybe have a different part of the fair occupy that space. So we're just curious about what might be possible. Yeah. And
also want to say I love Rhinebeck. It's the reason we moved here. We really believe in this town, the people, and in making this a better place, and continuing to improve what's already here, not to change things. We're not here to try to like turn this town around. We want to be part of the community, and that's why it felt really important for us to be here. Our friends are very much part of the community. Matt Johnson is a dear friend who's on the planning committee. We work at Co. We've taught at the school, at Primrose Hill School, which is closing. It's been underfunded. People can't afford to live there who teach there. So that's another reason the school's closing. Also the rides that were part of the fair, basically what's happening is the decibel levels are so high that our house is shaking the foundation. All of our neighbors are pissed off. Most people have told us to leave. When we call the police to ask what are the noise ordinances and rights, the police say, there aren't any, talk to the mayor, suck it up, leave, get over it. There's broken glass in our yard. We work from home. I'm a voiceover actor. I can't record at all. It's hard to leave our house to go somewhere else during the week. We don't have the luxury to be able to afford to do that. No one at the fairgrounds has offered us a ticket even, nor to pay for anyone's housing. All the rides, there used to be about 10, now there's 30 this year. The trucks come a week before. We hear them all night till about 3 a.m. and then they leave a week after. And also, there's about a mile, 10 acres of fairgrounds unused by the main entrance. It would be a wonderful place where there are no houses, but for some reason for the last 10 years, the rides have been allowed to be built only where there are houses. and they're 10 feet from our property line. So the decibel levels are shaking. DJs hitting air horns is 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. and then the workers work till 1 a.m. Loud noise as well. The animals around us in our community, if you care about animals, all the animals in our houses hide. They hide. They're all stressed out. And I had a few panic attacks, and our marriage was stressed that week as it was our business.
Clearly there's a
I had to move my business for the whole week.
And frustration.
And
Thank
so
you
we're
so
noticing
much.
there's a place to move the grounds where there's empty space, and that maybe we could work together on how the local businesses could be
Thank you so much
included.
for our time. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a comment, I think we reached out to set up a meeting, and Martina, have you had a response?
I did call back and left a message, and I appreciate you all calling.
Yeah, so I wanted to get together with you, and, during the fair and right after the fair, so we tried to make contact to be able to have that discussion.
I appreciate that, and I reached back out. I hadn't heard a response, so that's why we came tonight, so thank you.
I do think that there's a moment that I think we need to pay attention to as a board. For one, I'm a strong proponent of the fair. I am a deep believer that an agricultural fair belongs in a rural area. However, there's a difference between the animal and traditional agricultural side of the fair and then the carnival aspect of it that it is acquired. And 164 years ago, or whenever the fairgrounds were started, we didn't have, DJ'd rides. We didn't have air horns, we didn't have all of it. So I do think that there is a way that we could potentially work with the fairgrounds to reduce the impact of the noise on the immediate neighbors. I live half a mile from the fairgrounds and I can hear it going all day long. And that is a clear violation of our noise ordinances, on its face. I don't know if somehow because of the fairgrounds of who they are, if they're exempt from our noise ordinances, but I do think that this is a conversation we need to have because there's a difference between the fair and the purpose of the fair in a rural district and what it has evolved into. And I think there's a way for us to work with the fairgrounds to figure out a way to make that work for everybody. I love fairs, I love the rides, but I've been to multiple agricultural fairs and many of them do not have sort of the air horns and the live DJs at the rides that this one seems to have. So I do feel like that there's a middle ground that we could discover, perhaps, with the Fairgrounds partnership.
Okay, anybody else for public comment? Thank you. Hearing none, we will move on. We have a presentation this evening on our State Historic Preservation from our State Historic Preservation Office, Linda Mackey.
Yes.
Correct? Linda, welcome.
Thank you. All right. Let's see. Good evening, everyone. So as I said, I'm with the State Historic Preservation Office, or SHPO, what we call Parks. We go by a few different names. I've been with SHPO for about 10 years now. I wear two hats. For tonight, my hat is the Certified Local Government Coordinator. So I work with municipal commissions statewide. It's a federal program that we administer. We have 76 CLGs, but I also work with communities who are interested in learning more about the program to see if will it work for them. So tonight, might go over the 15-20 minutes. I'll try and zip through, but I'll save these slides as a PDF as well. But I'm going to first start with briefly, high level, SHPO, kind of who we are, because there is often overlap with what we do at the state and federal level and what you do at the local level. And then I'll dive into the CLG program a little bit. So, we were established under the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. That act created every SHPO. Every state has a SHPO. It administered the National Register of Historic Places. Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act. We have the federal commercial rehab tax credit and also the Certified Local Government Program. I have a couple slides on each of these. Now, we have state programs that basically mirror the federal programs. We have the state register, which is that linear process up to national register. We have section 1409, the New York State Preservation Act. We have state commercial and homeowner rehabilitation tax credits. There are grants for restoration. These are for municipally owned, nonprofit owned, and our listed properties. And we also do a lot of public outreach and education. So for Section 106 and 1409, SHPO review is triggered by that state and or federal involvement. It would be through funding, permitting, or licensing. So quite often we review projects that require a DEC permit, Army Corps permit, SED, it could be HUD funding, lots of FCC projects. So that is that trigger. Some folks think, oh, it's in the National Register, you have to go to SHPO. Nope, it's always by that state federal hook is why we review projects. Because per state federal law, the agencies have to take into account their actions on state and historic resources, that's above ground, and archaeology. And their goal is always to avoid, minimize, or mitigate any adverse impacts. So it's our job, once there's that trigger, we identify any historic resources that could be impacted by that project. State National Register program, so that is our official list of resources that are significant at the local, state, and national level. It includes many, many things. Building site structures, landscapes, rural landscapes, districts, boats, you name it. We can probably list it if fit one of those categories. Generally, it must be 50 years of age or older. There is a consideration for less than 50. But a building resource, it must retain integrity to convey that significance. So if it's a significant person, if it's an amazing building, if it's associated with an event, it must retain that integrity and convey that significance. Now, a lot of verbiage here, but the main thing is, as far as comparing state and national register and local designation, which is what I'll be talking about, state and national register are primarily honorary. It's, if a property owner, if they're using their own funds, they can change it, they can change out windows, they can change out doors, they can do a new roof, they can do whatever they want as long as they're using their own money. It's only a measure of protection, that state federal involvement, as I mentioned. The benefit, tax credit programs. You might be eligible for homeowner or commercial tax credit programs. On the flip side, local landmarking. You really have a stronger level of protection at the local level because it's built into zoning, planning, zoning board. It's really built into your code. The focus is really just exterior, so it's not interior, no private spaces. It is that greater control. And sometimes people think, oh, it's on the National Register, it's not going to get demolished, but it can. If it's locally designated, it still might be able to be demolished, but you have a stronger, really a stronger pause button to really look at alternatives and protect that resource. And tax credits, I believe most of the village, because you are on the National Register, there is a qualifying census tract. I think that information is on the website. As far as the state credits, eligible through the end of 2024, but the federal credit is still, for income producing, is still valid. That's across the board. But we do have those incentives. It's really to do the right thing for the building. The idea is to retain character-defining features, but still continue use of that building. We want to move into the 21st century. If you need HVAC system, if you want to add on to the building, if you need to install solar panels, you can do that by retaining the character-defining features. And we do have handouts. We have more information on our website. We do workshops on this, so that could be something for another time. So other groups, I don't want to speak too much on this, but we do have various state, federal organizations. The one that I always call attention to, the League of New York State, they have grants for non-CLGs, because we do have a grant program, but for folks that are not part of that program, the League offers grants for survey, for National Register, technical assistance. They also have various webinars on preservation topics. The other organization, the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions, awesome resource. We actually have various webinars from them about best practices. It could be if you have a commission with no staff, like how do you get your projects moving forward without the staff assistance. It could be substitute materials, various topics. And the organization has an email listserv that you can sign up for. And you're communicating with people like yourself, but across the nation, other planners, preservation professionals. So I've seen hundreds of emails from it because it's anything and everything you can ask. And National Park Service is kind of like our mothership, I say, because they have, the standards, they have the tax credit program, they have preservation briefs on various topics, so obviously an excellent resource as well. So very fast, high level, but again, I'll save these slides. So the Certified Local Government Program, again, as I said, this was an amendment to the National Historic Preservation Act in 1980. The goal of this is really to integrate that preservation into local planning. You have a seat at the table. You're not advisory. You get to talk about preservation, your historic character, sense of place. It does have a valid place in the planning efforts. It helps to establish best practices. We have our state model law that people can use as a template. It's there for you. It was approved by the Department of State, so we know it's valid. And we also have design standards to make sure that reviews are consistent. You're integrating local, state, and national efforts. Everyone's kind of speaking the same language. We're all partners in preservation. And it's providing assistance to local communities, helping to establish and maintain the preservation program. And now, how did it come to be? Local preservation, officially, I think probably the 1930s, Charleston, I think New Orleans, 1937, but really it came to a fold in 1978. As you see, Grand Central Station there. Penn Central wanted to construct a huge office tower on top of Grand Central. This particular building was designated by the New York City Landmarks Commission. So like no adverse, you can't do it. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And they said, yes, this preservation law is constitutional. It's not a taking. You can still make your money as a train station. It doesn't have to be the most profitable. So it really made these constitutional, and it does benefit the public welfare. And so currently, across the nation, we have over 2,000, and in New York, we have 76 CLGs. You have a lot of neighbors in this neck of the woods. There's a little list of those CLGs in Dutchess and Ulster County, both the city town of Poughkeepsie, Saugerties, New Paltz, village of Ellenville and Morrison. They have a joint commission, and Marbletown in Kingston. So a lot of neighbors that are doing the same thing as you, if you were interested in talking about their preservation program and any challenges, any goals, anything that they're working on. Because even though you're in separate municipalities, you are often faced with the same projects, any kind of issues, and it's good to know, hey, what are you doing over there? You can still talk to us, of course, at SHPO, but it's nice to talk to folks that are doing the same work as you. Requirements. A lot of this I pulled from our rules and regulations. The first one is creating legislation for the protection of historic resources, so you have the power to designate and protect those resources. And that's important because that's your roadmap, as with the rest of your village code. That is how you designate and protect, review changes. We do require that when there are any changes to the code, that you submit those to us for review, and that's just to make sure that it is still in compliance with the CLG program. Establish and maintain a qualified commission. So very important, you are the qualified body to make those decisions. Training, even if you have an architect, preservation professional, there's always good to have a refresher. There's always something new, maybe with substitute materials, maybe it's a refresher on best practices. I sometimes need a refresher on some of my work as well. We do ask that when new members are appointed, we have their resume. Again, just to confirm qualifications, and just so we know who's on the board. And so we want to make sure that we know who's who. Another requirement, maintaining a system for survey. Very important surveys, they provide that understanding of what properties should be protected and how you could incorporate preservation goals into your planning efforts. So, you might say, oh, we need this downtown area protected, or maybe this residential area, this specific rural property should be protected. We can direct maybe some new construction over here in the part of the village. So it helps to plan your priorities. It's an excellent planning tool, and it's not just for local designation, but also for state and national register listing. Public participation, open meetings law, I think every board has to adhere to that, and just that transparent and fair review process. Another requirement, you have the opportunity to participate in the state and national register review process. We have quarterly state review board meetings, so March, June, September, December, 60 days beforehand. When we have a district or individual nomination, we do send full draft copies to the CLG, the commission and chief elected official. We send the frequently asked questions and the criteria. The commission has the opportunity to review that and submit a letter of support. So they're participating in that part of the state federal program. On the administrative side, we do have an annual report. Nothing crazy, 2-pager. It's more summarizing the preservation activities every year. So how many meetings? We do require at least 4 for CLG, but most boards meet monthly. We ask about training. Have you done training? Do you need training? Any difficult projects? Any achievements that you want to talk about? Goals for next year? And I do read them because that's something where if I see something that could be maybe a grant project, I'll reach out to the commission. If there's training needs, I'll reach out to the commission. So we definitely look at those. We also do an audit every 4 years. We do it remotely now. Can't always get in the field, but remote, we've been doing it for the past, actually since before COVID, and it's worked out really well. It's nuts to bolts of the program. We like to see example certificates of appropriateness, just to see how projects are being reviewed, what's your current list of landmarks, if you have design guidelines, copy of your current code. It truly, nuts to bolts, nothing to be scared of. It's also a good check-in for SHPO. Is there something that I need to do? Is there some kind of assistance I need to provide? So, audit is a scary word, but doesn't need to be. So I might jump through some of these because I want to make sure I talk about some of the benefits of the program, and I'll provide these slides at the end. Okay, benefits. So we are required to pass through at least 10% of our federal dollars to our CLG partners. We do that through a competitive grant program. We have 76 CLGs, but not everybody applies every year. And this, we have, usually it's on a 2-3 year grant cycle. The National Park Service just extended it to 3 years. These are planning grants, and I have some slides for examples coming up, but I want to talk about the technical training. So if you do need training, if you want to do a refresher on the Secretary of the Interior standards, if you want to talk about windows, if you want to talk about ADA ramps, I can come down and do a presentation on that. But also, I will send out notices to CLGs when I hear about a webinar opportunity. NAPAC, they do them all the time. I've seen some from the National Trust, and I've seen some from a few other organizations. So even though it's not myself, it's another training opportunity for the board members. And any assistance. Also what we do, if there's any local issue, if you need an advisory opinion on a project, that's what I'm here for. I've done that many times. If you need any guidance, that's what we're here for. That's one of the big benefits. And if I don't have the answer, I work with 50 people. They will definitely have the answer. So a little bit more about grants. Generally, there's no minimum maximum. They typically range between 10 and 20,000. They can cover, like here, surveys. You can update a survey, district nominations. We have the municipal training, and that's more a regional training. This past cycle, a community in Western New York received a grant for training opportunities, and they invited all the nearby CLGs to participate in those roundtable discussions. So it covers something like that. Workshops, if you need to do some public outreach and education, it could cover that as well. Publications such as brochures and design guidelines, walking tour brochures, heritage tourism, it really all ties back to the commission and the local preservation program. So a little bit more, there's no required match, but we do ask up to 40% just to spread that money. That can be in donated volunteer time. And it's good to see that, from the municipality to showing that they're investing their time in the project. That was part of that process. But it's we try and keep it simple with the application, but it definitely can cover many things. Brochures, some fun ones, I'm not sure how old that can I paint my house purple, but yes, you can. It really is, it could be about the CNA process. It could be, just more historical information about the district or about a property. I have one in Albany. They did it on sustainability, energy efficiency. Even for people who are not in a local district, this would be a benefit to them as well. Design guidelines. These are great because it really helps with a consistent review. These are big ticket items too, and it's always tweaked to the built environment. So you have the history of the community, what are the different trends, significant developments in that community, what properties reflect that. And then it goes into windows, doors, the roof, solar panels, you name it. It can be really tweaked there. And it helps also property owners know what they can and cannot do, developers what they can and cannot do, and when there is turnover with a commission, you have this document to provide that consistency. Village of New Paltz did a fun series of videos, just like 5-10 minute videos, and they were focused on preservation law, some do's and don'ts. They talked about testimonials. I will say, I think my predecessor was actually interviewed for this, and they filmed at People's Island, and some of the don'ts actually they filmed in a National Register district across the way because they didn't want to show the bad examples in their own community, because you could picture, oh, that's Joe's house, look what he did to his windows, so. So it's fun, and it's on YouTube, it's on their website, and yes, it's focused on their architecture, but the general concept is there, and that was really a fun project. Surveys. I think you guys have already an existing National Register district. You expanded the district, so maybe this might not be needed right now, but maybe in the future, if you're moving forward with like mid-century architecture, possibly, that's a possibility. Workshops, I did one in Greenport. We had a historian talk about the history of the community and the district. I talked about CLG and the homeowner tax credit. We had a few testimonials, which was really fun, some walking tours. So that was a fun day. And lastly, Albany did a preservation plan. I know municipalities typically have a comprehensive plan, so the whole thing about the community preservation is kind of folded into that. This just focused on preservation. And there is a lot of public outreach, workshops, what are the existing conditions, existing landmarks, and what could be done in the future. And it sets priorities, and they've actually applied for grants for several surveys. So it is being used, which is good. So I think I zipped through that very fast. So, but I can answer any questions, and again, I'll give these slides to you guys afterward, because it's a lot of information.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. If we were, what would the grant you call a grant opportunity? How do we look for it?
So on our website, because it's just for CLGs, and we do have on our website the Certified Local Government page, and there's a link to talk about grants. And so that'll talk about more in depth about the minimum maximum, the application cycle requirements, and what I've done for some other communities, I've provided the previous cycle's application and guidelines. It doesn't change that much, and so I can share that with you if you like, just to see, get an idea of what it's all about.
Thanks.
Yeah.
A couple of questions. I think one of the ones in the slides you skipped through, but where does the CLG sit in relationship to the planning board and our zoning code?
Kind of side by side.
Okay.
Separate commission. Yep.
And is the CLG acts mostly through changing zoning code? Are they involved in a planning review process as well?
It depends on if whatever change, whatever the proposed project is, does it trigger review by the Historic Commission and planning. And then you would have both take a look at it. Hopefully the commission, they would focus on the historic character defining features, changing our windows, roof, and then I'm not as well versed with planning, but I was a site plan review, so whatever that triggers, so there could be some overlap. I think site plan review is more new construction, larger developments, I think, so there could be some of that overlap.
I now need to call sororities, but in some of the smaller communities, is there ever any overlap between the members of the
Yes.
Historic Commission and the Planning Board?
Yep, there usually is a liaison sometimes. I think Coxsackie has someone on the planning board is also on the commission. And then, I know there's a few others, but there is sometimes that overlap because in some communities where you don't have a huge population, it's kind of hard to have separate members for each one. So, for as far as the qualifications for a commission member, minimum is a commitment and interest in the program, and there is that training. And we know that every community has an architect, has a preservation professional, so it can be a planner. But of course, planning is kind of related to preservation. They go hand in hand, but you still have that training aspect. So you can have overlap with people. It just has to still be a separate body than the planning board.
Got it.
And you can have a joint commission, say Rhinebeck Village and Town. Is that possible?
Possibly, I think the village of Ellenville and the town of Morrising, that's our only one. But I know New Paltz and Saugerties, they do talk to each other a lot, but they're still separate commissions.
And the other question I had is more practical. It seems like the design guidelines would be really the heart of what the commission does. And you said grants are in the $10,000 to $20,000.
Typical, but we've gone up to like $45,000, $50,000.
I was going to say, because it seems like developing the guidelines is probably a pretty expensive proposition.
Yep, yeah, and we've gone up to, I think New York City, they digitizing records, their grant was $45,000. And that preservation Buffalo survey was probably $55,000. So there's no, that's the typical amount, because we don't always get those big ones, but when we do, awesome, because we need to spend the money. And we love design guidelines.
So it's interesting because you and I have spoken about this, but we have in the village we have our historic preservation code and our historic demolition laws, and then there's just a subsection of the zoning code, and probably 80%, I would guess, of the planning board's work is focused around enforcing the bits and pieces in the historic district. Mm-hmm. And one of our big concerns is an applicant having to go to potentially up to 3 different bodies, like a historic preservation commission, a planning board, and potentially a zoning board, for one project. How do some of your communities handle that in terms of making sure that the process for applicants isn't unnecessarily onerous?
I know Village of Cold Spring, they actually, when someone submits an application for, let's say, a building permit, typically all the applications go through their clerk, and they'll say, oh, okay, so this person, they need to go to the Historic Commission, they need to go to planning, so they have one cover sheet that has one consistent number, and then they email that to the chair and vice chair of the board, so everyone knows, oh, we're all going to be seeing this same project. And it's up to the applicant which order they want to do it. But there is that communication. I was like, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, I like that idea. Because you need to know what the other group is doing, and because I think sometimes zoning isn't always in line maybe with preservation as far as the size of new buildings. And I know preservation can be more restrictive in the size of buildings. So there is that communication, there as well. I think the city of Saratoga, when they have some larger projects, they actually have the planning, zoning, and commission. They have meetings together to talk about it. It's like, hey, we're all going to be reviewing this, and because it can get frustrating for property owners. But with the commission, what we've kind of put in the model law, and other communities have done this, if a proposed change, if it's, let's say, in kind, if it's it's not going to be adverse, if it meets the standards. There are administrative reviews, so you wouldn't have to go through public hearing, and that can be a stamp, yep, and that will be assigned to someone on the commission, or you would have someone trained to do that. We also have consent agenda. I know Newburgh has that, and a few others have that now, so that if it's projects that, it's okay, whatever the change might be, you can loop that into one agenda item, and then poof, it's done. And then you can save your time for the more complicated projects that might take a little bit more time. So there's some ways to, in a way, streamline at least the preservation side of things.
Thank you.
Any questions from the public?
Question. You mentioned that for the CLGs that you like to see resumes, et cetera. Are the grants conditioned upon a certain set of qualifications for the people that sit on the historic preservation side?
So typically in the code, it'll say that, you know, at least one member, you know, we like to have an architect, we like to have a realtor, we like to have, you know, because we do have, for the Secretary of the Interior standards, there are professional qualifications for certain, you know, job fields, but there is that minimum, like, hey, you know, we don't have, or maybe you can get an architect, maybe in the municipality, so like, maybe there's a historian. So there's that minimum commitment to enforcing the code to get your training. And sometimes, I think in one municipality, we had a volunteer firefighter on, and huh? Like, oh, but I'm a fire code, building code. Like, oh, so that's what you bring to the table. So, and that's an important thing to consider. So it's just that minimum qualifications and the training, and that's something we'll take a look at. So that's, and that would be built into the code as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you. Anybody else need to speak?
No, we're good. Karen, treasurer's report.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, treasurer's report is for the period ending August 31st. The general fund ended the month with $75,367.99. The water fund ended the month with $120,156.05. The sewer fund ended the month with $161,180.44. We made approximately a little over $10,000 for the month in our New York class accounts that are held in general water and sewer. Vouchers presented for payment in the general fund total $150,368.05. In the water fund, $96,765.42. In the sewer fund, $38,834.64. We have one escrow bill in the amount of $541.25. The water system improvement project, $6,112.65. The wastewater treatment plant and sewer upgrade project, $11,420. And we just made our final purchase out of the general for the fire department MIG grant in the amount of $9,795.87.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the vouchers as submitted.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the monthly operating statement is provided for the revenue and expenditures through this evening, September 12th. The water and sewer billing and adjustments as signed off by Trustee Nunaker are on file and presented for approval.
I would like to make a motion to get the adjustments approved as submitted for water and wastewater.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I just have a few budget amendments. My first budget amendment is from the capital fire to the fire equipment budget in the amount of $10,120. This was a prior year radio purchase that we just received the bill for. In the 5604, the off-street parking EV maintenance, $506 for EV repairs. The engineering line item for Astor Bridge, $4,520 for the pedestrian walkway damage. And in the general fund, streets for Center Street, $2,870. And in the streets, 511004 for mulch grinding for $4,000. and that will be offset with contingency for a total of $11,896, which brings the balance of the contingency account to $28,524.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget amendments.
$28,524. Thank you.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
That's all I got.
Good, thank you. Okay, we have one purchase request this evening for an EMS fly car. Chief Knapp, give us an update.
So we're requesting the purchase of a new 2023 Chevy Tahoe to replace the Ford Explorer 2009 outside. It is our fly car for the EMS. It is second due on all EMS calls. It's a vital piece of equipment as our ambulance goes out multiple times during the day, multiple times during the year. We have numerous calls at the same time. The fly car carries life-saving equipment that the ambulance does, and the EMS can go with the fly car and start care on a patient until a transport unit is available. Recently, upon inspection of the vehicle, we've come up with a list of items that need to be repaired on it, totaling about $17,000, ranging from brake lines to front seals and transmission, plates that are, pans that are rusted, power steering lines that are getting rusted out, rocker panels. The vehicle is 14 years old. It is becoming an issue for safety. Under national standards, a vehicle of this sort would be replaced about every 10 years. So we've exceeded it. It was the old Chief's command vehicle, and it was passed down to EMS to better capability for them.
So what's the purchase of the new one?
The purchase of the new one would be $71,000. Includes all the lighting, the radios, lettering, and being able to set it up as an EMS command center.
So in the same way that the chief's car is a fire command center, this would be EMS command center?
It'll be an EMS command center and also run second due on all EMS calls that bring manpower to the scene to assist the ambulance.
It's a life support vehicle.
No, yeah, I know what the flag
It's not a
is.
command center. It is a command center, but the primary function.
We will have the
is to be a
capability
life support.
of running the EMS command out of it for a major incident if we needed it,
Okay.
along with the chief vehicle. It'll also be outfitted with items that the EMS need.
So the 71,000 is total outfit cost?
Correct.
How are we,
So, yeah, first let's make a motion to get into more discussion. We need to make a motion to approve the bid for a new Chevy Tahoe EMS fly car.
second?
Now, I really want to get into more discussion here.
I assume this is coming off the state list.
Yes,
Okay.
it would come off the state contract.
And how is this $71,000? Yeah,
Karen,
This is coming out.
tell
of
us about our
capital.
finances.
What are we doing here?
Okay, so I spoke with Brian, and I obtained 3 quotes for a 5-year municipal lease purchase, and so I obtained those. I received, the interest rates kind of don't coincide with the annual payments, so going by the annual payments, I got a $16,321, $17,429, and $18,247. So my recommendation would be to go with real lease at 7.49% for $16,321.55 annual payment for 5 years. So that being said, we had discussed that the chief's car's last payment is in July, which is next fiscal year, which will be in our
July 24.
Correct.
Okay.
24, 25 year. So if the board agrees to purchase this and we do a lease purchase, then the first payment will be due 1 year from now, which will still be in that 24-25 year. And we discussed that they were going to try and pay off the chief's car in this current fiscal year. So there will be no payment left.
How much is that payment for the chief's car?
I think it's like 8,000. It is,
Interest
it's
rates.
much, I know, it's much less than this, but it was a beautiful interest rate back then.
Yeah, right.
And the other item is for them to work it in their budget.
So the payoff would, for the chief car would come out of fire department capital?
I'm not sure if they're gonna do that or if they're gonna work within their operating budget, but,
We're hoping that if, we don't have to put all the repairs into the vehicles like this, that we'll have some money left over that we can use towards the final payment of the chief's car.
Because one thing is we could put the current car up for sale
Yeah,
and use that money towards the payoff of the existing car as well, right?
correct.
Right?
correct, we can do that. And, like I said, allocate it from their operating budget or capital, but, like I said, once the decision is made, like I said, we have a year until that next payment's done, so the fire department will work on their budget for that.
Can I ask you a question with like no real answer? But at what point do interest rates get so bad that we just, like, what is the capital reserve account earning at the moment? I mean, at what point do we just buy the truck at $71,000? Do you know what I mean?
That's
I know.
like a strategy. I don't, that's a strategy. Are they saving the capital
So the
reserve for
capital
something
reserve,
larger?
Right, I know, we're always very worried about your capital reserve.
We're trying to put that money aside for
I know,
future
'cause
larger
the
engine.
bigger trucks cost a lot more money. No,
Yeah.
no, I know. Okay.
So it's 16 over 5 years, 4 years pay for the vehicle.
5 years.
Five years.
No, but 4 years pay for the vehicle, the last one essentially is your cost of interest.
Well, yes.
Is there a prepayment penalty? Because, rates might come down.
I
Rates are
think
really
there's
good.
not after the second year.
Oh,
So we could
we could
we
finance.
have flexibility
Yeah,
with, for what you're talking about.
yeah, something to consider. Okay.
And how quickly, you said there was $15,000+ worth of repairs if you do all of it on the current vehicle. How quickly can you get this new vehicle? What has to happen to the other one?
so the dealership that has the state bid, they do have vehicles in stock. Upon approval, myself and EMS Captain Cotter will go up and look at what they have available. So it would be much sooner than later. We wouldn't have to order it.
We have to outfit it though.
We would have to outfit it.
Right.
Can you scrape some of the stuff off of the existing flat car?
There is a possibility that we might be able to take the radios out of it, transfer it over. Some of the stuff we will be able to.
Yeah, I get that, it's old. Yeah.
We created the fly car thing just recently, so we knew this was an
3
old.
years ago? How many, was it
It's
three?
been almost 4 years.
4 years ago?
Was it really? So we knew it wasn't
Time
going to
goes
last
by.
forever. I mean,
Yeah,
We knew it was old.
It was a hand-me-down.
Right.
goes by fast.
Been put to good use.
It's been very good use. I mean, it's run multiple calls, within the district numerous times.
Yeah.
So,
The only sad part is we don't have garage space.
that we do not.
We do not. All right, we have a motion and a second. I'm going to divide this up a little bit because I want to break it up into things, but I'm going to continue the motion to purchase the EMS fly car for a 5-year lease program of $16,325 per year at an interest rate of 7.49% for the 5-year period, with payments to start in 2024.
Correct,
September of 2024.
correct. But still 24, 25.
All,
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I'd like to make another motion to put the existing EMS fly car up for auction, internal auction. We'll announce it here, not send it to the auction, because I think we can do better ourselves.
So you're requesting
And-
sealed bids?
What?
You're requesting sealed bids?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
what we did for your truck.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, tried to get a sealed bid for it and put it out
Can
for
you
up for sale.
surplus it first?
Right, with the condition that the money earned goes back toward paying off the chief car so we can get out of debt there to move into this one.
We need to surplus it first.
You're right.
And what is it, a 2009 what?
Ford Explorer?
Ford Explorer.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to surplus the existing EN 2000.
Would that be surplus after we get the new fly car or before the new fly car?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, because we don't want to create a void.
So maybe we should wait until the new flat car comes in?
You want, oh.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah,
All right.
yeah, let's wait
Yes.
till you have it.
I would say that by next meeting, we should be able to.
Okay, no, that makes sense.
And also.
We'll hold that, so I'll retract that motion. I'll rescind that motion. All right?
Is it gonna be bright red?
Yeah.
It's gonna be bright red.
Is that what color they are up there?
It's right on the.
I think you're stuck with whatever color they have, right?
They have.
So,
They might
Victory
not.
red.
Victory red. Nice, little Master Chief car.
all right, very good, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, next.
Did we vote?
Did we vote?
Yeah.
We voted.
Yeah.
I thought there was a second motion.
No, I rescinded that. Rescinded that one. So while we're talking about surplus police vehicles, we have a surplus police car that is sitting out in the back lot after the purchase of our last car. I'd like to make a motion to surplus the police vehicle and request that go out for sealed bids as well.
Second.
Any discussion?
It's stripped out, ready to go?
It's
I love
stripped
this
out-
description of it.
I just
It's
need you to
stripped
give me a
out,
time.
ready to go.
Are we saying that these are as is? I mean, we're not,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, because if you read this, for the record, it has a few scratches, right? We're not sure exactly how many, but it does have a few. There has been some damage to the paint on the vehicle, and that's mostly because we had to remove the graphics and that kind of stuff that were on it to make it more into a standard black and white looking little car, but all the graphics have been removed. And there is a leak when it rains. So.
But we don't know what it is.
But it's only during a heavy rain.
It's only when it rains.
That is leak.
Doesn't look inside.
It's a 2013 Ford Police
find it.
Interceptor. It's an
All right.
SUV.
So do I have a second? Did you second it, Rick?
I did.
Rick second. Any discussion?
I need to know how long you want it out to bid for.
Good point.
When do we generally get bids back on this stuff?
Highly depends on you guys. You can do a month, you can do 2 weeks, you can do till the next meeting.
When do we do next meeting?
Or the Friday before.
Yeah.
Friday before, which
Yeah.
is
We're doing an award.
the 6th.
Well, if we do it the Friday before our next meeting, we can award it at the meeting.
Great, let's do it.
So
Yeah.
October
Yeah.
6th?
October
And the
6th.
day after October 6th.
Yep. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So passed. So if anybody wants a 2013 Ford
Police Interceptor.
Police Interceptor with 74,425 miles, 11,421 idle hours, important, and 8,028 regular hours in a black and white, beautiful color. Please,
With an unknown number of crashes.
yes. All right.
What's the price on that?
Please bid high. What?
It's a bid.
Oh, it's a bid.
It's a bid.
And we're having a
Highest.
minimum.
What?
No minimum.
No,
Well, we can always reject.
we can
that.
reject, yes. Okay, next, Vanessa, Locust Hill Interested Agency Resolution.
So we received a letter from Town Board saying that they will be lead agency for the Locust Hill development. And as part of that process, they say, are there any other interested agencies? And I know that the village planning board has already put forward a letter to be an interested agency. And I would like to make a motion that we accept this resolution for the village board to be an interested agency as well, interested party.
I second that.
Second, yeah.
Okay, do you want me to read the resolution? It's pretty short.
If you want.
Whereas the Village Board of Rhinebeck is in discussions with the developer of Locust Hill regarding its proposed use of municipal services such as water and wastewater, and whereas the Village Board of Rhinebeck sees potential for collaboration and connection between future residents of Locust Hill and the residents of the village, which would require coordination in planning and design. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of Rhinebeck be listed as an interested agency in the town board's seeker process for Locust Hill.
Any discussion?
Was the planning board, I mean, I have concerns about the environmental impact on the village because it's an adjacent parcel, and the environment in this case being the historic integrity of being a neighbor. But are we sure, so that would satisfy my concern if the planning board were, our planning board,
Yeah,
It's our planning board.
yeah,
were a interested party?
They are.
they are.
For officially, not,
Officially.
They've submitted a letter, I can follow up on that. Yeah,
okay.
happy to.
Because
I
this,
think they actually submitted the letter before the town board
Opened it,
so I just told Ryan to resubmit.
yeah,
okay.
right.
No, that's good.
As long as they're on board,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, they're very curious about the neighborhood planning aspect of it.
Some of the, there may be some short circuiting as far as who's reviewing what over there, so.
Right now, we
I'll
don't
say
know
no more.
enough. Right now, we don't even know enough, right?
Right.
You know
And
what I'm
this
saying?
gets us at the table
Yep.
for whatever the process may be.
Yep.
So then I also included in that folder the letter that I will, if we pass this, then I'll send a letter, or
I'll
you
send it.
will sign it and send it.
Yep.
Great.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you, Vanessa.
All right, Vanessa, we're going to keep you on the plate. Locust Hill Service Agreement Resolution.
Okay, so what we have here is our first draft of an agreement that would be between the Village of Rhinebeck and Locust Hill, Ken Kearney's Locust Hill development. So what I'm asking for tonight is for the board to approve this draft or to give me specific feedback on how it can be improved before we send it to Ken Kearney. Just take a step back and give a little bit of context. Long term, the village would like for there to be an extraterritorial district for water and wastewater. The town is the only one that can actually start that process. And as you know, we've been asking the town to start that process. In the meantime, here's an agreement such that we aren't holding things up. And that actually lays out what our fee would be for hookup for water and wastewater. And basically the terms of the arrangement of who's doing what and who's responsible for what. This agreement that I'm putting forward tonight would be null and void if and when those extraterritorial districts are created.
Is there any views on the possibility of the town moving that process forward? Like, can we use this as a bargaining chip for that?
So.
That was the idea, that was the idea we had for over a year.
Excuse me, yeah, so I've been in discussion with the town. They are currently waiting on input from the developer so that they can move forward. They are also in favor of wanting to create the extraterritorial district, and we have some meetings that we're setting up to help flush that process out to keep it forward, so yes.
Great.
I have one question in paragraph 5, which for some reason I can't seem to keep my computer focused on. It says, first line, rates of service, and then it says will not exceed a certain percentage, a blank percentage. When do we determine that percentage, or how do we determine that percentage?
We can actually have that discussion tonight if you would like.
So with the gardens agreement, it's very similar language, and we have 150%, up to 150%. Do you know what we're charging the gardens at this point? Are we charging,
I think it's 30%. I think the assessment is 30%.
So it's 130%?
so the gardens language says, I got the gardens agreement here, hold on.
Yes.
No, it's great.
I probably circled it.
So it's up to 150% brand from your memory, and then,
Well, I'll read it to you,
Okay.
so we don't have to rely on it.
yeah,
Rates for service of the units will be determined by the village board from time to time in accordance with the costs for servicing out-of-village users and shall not exceed 150% of the rates charged to customers within the territorial limits of the village. With Grassmere, we have a cap at 25%, 125%.
oh, interesting.
Gardens is
How,
up
do you remember how we came up with that?
because they're doing like $1 million,
Oh, okay, right.
water line
Oh, yeah,
project.
they're doing all the.
Right.
Now, the gardens took over $1 million in bond debt. This is a proposed $880,000 up front.
With them responsible for all of the service beyond, in water, all the service beyond the master meter. So the whole development is their responsibility.
Yeah, that's typical.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Is that
know,
the same
but
way
they're-
as the
they're-
others?
we're not on the hook to make repairs with inside development for incoming wastewater, outgoing water.
Is that what we did for the gardens? I know the gardens is no wastewater, but.
The gardens has their own, it's in
No,
charge.
they are on wastewater, sorry.
They're in charge of their own lift station, and they've actually been operating it very well lately, and so we're seeing that.
Well, actually, we would like to enter into discussion, separate subject with the gardens to take over that lift station, so that we have
Well,
more
let's-
control over, given some of the issues we've had.
Let's talk about
It's
that another time.
it's improved quite a bit, but
Let's talk about
that's
it.
a separate issue.
Yes.
So,
I mean, it seems like if we're doing 150% for the gardens, why don't
Yeah.
we do 150% here?
Okay.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Why? I mean, here we have a workforce housing where we want to work with them. We want to make sure workforce housing is successful in some way. And the goal is we're going to establish extraterritorial districts in the future, which any possible rates can be established at that time. So as an interim, why do we need to charge them excess for water and wastewater?
Would this line come off of the Rhine Cliff line?
The water comes off of, there's two lines in there.
Yeah.
One of them, yes. But not the one
That's
that we're
constantly
constantly
breaking?
repairing, not that one.
Okay.
This is a not to exceed number, it's not the rate.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
Grassmere's a flat, is a
It's
rate.
flat 125%?
Yeah.
And the gardens is up to 150%.
but we are charging them that rate,
No,
correct?
we're charging
No,
them
I don't think so.
130%.
We're charging them 130%. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Why
So-
can't we just do,
That's all.
why can't we just use the normal rate that we're using until we get to the interim agreement?
Just to be consistent perhaps, but also we don't want to shock them. I mean, if we're going to have 125% in the future, let's start now so they're accustomed to it.
Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna have.
Because if they have sub-meters, those people will be like, oh no, I just had a
I mean,
25% increase.
we could have it be not to exceed 150% and then choose to charge them 75%. I mean, like, at this point, we don't have to.
We're not setting the rate.
Right.
At some point, we have to set the rate though.
Right,
Right.
we can have that conversation when we have that conversation, but I think for this, I'm always nervous about making contracts with the expectation that another contract will come in behind it. You know, this is gonna be our contract until we actually get the extraterritorial district. And so we need to make sure that we have the ability, I mean, given how many problems we have with that line that goes between here and Rhinebeck Cliff,
But this has nothing to do with that line. Remember that. It doesn't tap into that line.
We're going to go right into the transmission line here?
Transmission line.
It's, according to Brian, it's not the one, there's two lines there.
Yeah.
It's not the
No,
one
I
that's
know where
breaking.
Yeah, I know where it is.
According, so I can't tell you which direction, but it's not the one that's breaking.
yeah.
So the idea is they would design for our review the the lift stations or the pump stations or whatever is.
The water lines, all, everything.
All that, so they,
For our approval.
for our
yes.
approval, who pays for the engineer time?
They do.
They do. It's not part of this rate.
They are responsible for,
That's by escrow. or
no,
something.
we're not doing the design, they're doing the design.
Right, and we're doing design approval.
Yes.
Right, so who's responsible for our bill for approving, for the
They
repair?
are.
They are as well? Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not part of this rate?
No, it's not part of
Okay,
the
just
rate.
make sure.
Yeah, but we're not even paying for the design up front.
Gotcha. No, that I understand, not the design and nor the
The review
review.
of everything.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I think you go with the 150 number. We built it in case something happens, but we haven't set the rate. And we'll set the rate when we have a better sense of cost.
And why not then the garden, why not then the Grasmere rate? We gave them, because they're doing substantial water improvements, they're doing water improvements here.
Well, they're not
What
doing
are
one
they-
improvements.
what are
No, they're only doing water improvements inside
Inside.
They're
their.
gonna turn everything over to us,
well, they're paying for it. They're
Yeah.
giving us an upfront fee, but,
and
which is substantial.
And when they're done, that lift station and the meter pump all become village property with easements,
Right, but that's not what this is, like, this is not that conversation. This is, like, the rate conversation is like, once everything is going, then how much we're gonna charge.
Yeah, I'm talking about even for
Oh,
the number
I
here.
mean, I agree with Gary. I think it should be like Grasmere, because it's similar to 125%.
I think it's
like
too
not to
low.
exceed 125%? Sure.
All right,
So do we need a motion to?
yeah.
So there's
Okay.
more changes that I would suggest.
Okay.
Okay, so we're in agreement that it's a not to exceed 125%?
Why don't we do like a motion
Yeah.
All right,
specifically for that?
okay, I'm making a motion that I amend the agreement so that it's
Paragraph 5.
not to exceed the
Amended if it's
125%.
just a draft.
Second,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Do you need to actually have a motion to amend it if it's just a draft? This is not a.
Well, no, we can approve the document if we want.
We're just going to submit as many terms, important terms that we can agree on tonight.
Yeah.
Right, but to have an actual motion to amend it, you haven't agreed to actually adopt it yet.
Doesn't matter, we motion to approve.
Okay, well then why don't you just keep track of the changes and then we'll do a whole motion to approve with discuss changes at the end. How about that? Okay.
All right,
All right, other changes.
So there probably will insist on some kind of definition of a commencement date.
excuse me, wait, one conversation, Lydia.
Sorry, paragraph 5, make it not to exceed 125%.
The agreement would be effective upon both parties signing the agreement, but the commencement date, or when some of the obligations would kick in, they might come back and say, well, we need a substantial completion date or something, when we cut you a check for this $880,000. So at our end, we don't want that period of approvals and regulatory approvals to drag out forever. So we don't want to actually, we want to have a fuse on how long we're promising this reserve capacity of 17,500 gallons. So we don't, if they're in approval process or the approval process gets suspended, we don't want them to say 4 years, from now, where's our 17,500 gallons if we've moved on to some other plants and hooked up some other folks. So you just want to fuse on it, like 18 months or something.
So I see your point, and it's really dependent on the town right now, isn't it, in terms of their process?
Right,
to get
but
through?
it's really dependent on, but from our business needs, it would be like, how long do we want to leave this?
Could we say 18 months with option to extend? You know what I mean?
Well, in practical terms, that's what we would do.
Yeah.
But at least we have it out. We have some ammunition to.
If it's dragging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
in Northeast, so approvals take a long time.
I like that,
Season
but I would
taxes.
actually say 2 years, because I think this is going to take a while.
Okay.
So I would put a 2-year kind of moratorium on it.
I can draft that, but you guys will probably want to have
Sunset?
Rich write that particular sentence.
Just like disagreement is valid for 2 years from now.
Yeah,
I can come up with something. I can work with Martina and come up with something.
work with Vanessa, and Vanessa owns the document.
Okay.
Either way.
But I think
All right.
it's a good idea.
The other things are little. I mentioned via email that just to add that word maximum.
I think I did that.
Yeah, we did that.
Okay. And then in paragraph 15, call it an extraterritorial sewer and water district,
Yeah.
just to be more.
We did that.
And then in paragraph 8, we could say water code, but I think what we meant to say is water and wastewater codes,
Okay.
not just water. That seems like a carryover from the water agreement.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
I think that's all I have.
Okay. Okay.
All right, I think what we need to do is get this to Kearney for his review.
Mhm.
And then we can start the negotiations and then come back with any input in terms of then voting on it for our vote.
Right, so I guess the resolution is with those changes, can I send this draft to Carrie?
Yep.
So can you make that a motion?
All right.
Motion to approve this resolution with these added changes and send it.
Yes.
What more to is that?
Well, I mean, you have a lovely resolution right here, so we can just say that, like, you can just amend this resolution to say the village ordinance attorney have drafted an agreement, and this agreement is the one that we've all just agreed is the one that we're gonna do, and so we don't actually need to say anything in the resolution.
Or just say substantially in accordance with
Yeah.
this draft.
Right, which shall govern the services to be provided. Yeah.
So you gonna make a motion or you want me?
Go ahead.
I make a motion to, with the amendments to this draft that we've discussed this evening and all approved, to send this agreement to Kearney Development Corporation for review and discussion.
Sorry, is this the motion that we have on our computer screens, or are you making up a different resolution?
I just made a motion.
Oh, okay,
Right, and so the initial resolution was for this.
good.
We're not modifying the resolution, we made a motion to send this with the amendments draft.
Okay,
Do I have a
a
second?
motion to adopt this resolution.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Move on, very good. Next, Brant.
So we have had the geotextile bags. We dredged the lagoon several years ago, perhaps 4 years ago. And we have, the geotextile bags have been, instead of having a mechanical way of dewatering, we have the bags which the water seeps out of the side, right? So the silt from the lagoon has been laying down for quite a long time, and it's great to have like deep freezes and things like that. So it's a very good drier quality, and the drier the material, the cheaper it is to haul away. But it does have some contaminants in it, like alum, which is aluminum from the treatment for the flocking tank, and it has more sodium because of what we're doing there with, I guess, the chlorine piece. And it does have PFAS, which is the contaminant that concerns everyone these days. Because what happened is the river has 2 or 3 parts per trillion, which is innocuous, and when it gets concentrated in sludge beds, it's much higher. So right now we don't have a soil standard in New York City. This is like a soil disposal, but it is a biosolid with some hazmats in it. So the Delaware Engineering put together a resolution just to go out to bid on this. We've done some of this in-house ourselves with the clerk and with the Treasurer's Department. But when I wanted to use Delaware Engineering to put the resolution together, because they understand this biosolids, or the hazardous materials part of the piece of it. So it's just a resolution to go out to bid on sludge removal. I had got a bid from the dredger to load. Loading is a big piece of this. I was told by a sludge hauler that I might save a lot of money by using Peter Rossi, who's the guy we used for approximately $16,500 to load the trucks as they come in and haul away the stuff. So the bid would ask for both options. Either the hauler would be hauling and loading, or just, do two different pieces of it. So if I can beat that price with Peter and they're happy with that, which I'm told I can, then we constructed the bid up that way. So I did not, I printed it out, I didn't bring it. So ask me anything, I don't, I read the resolution before, but I don't have it.
So are we talking about the 70-page RFP in front of us?
Yeah, but most of that is lab stuff.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah,
I just
it's
want to make
like-
sure I was looking at the right document.
Yeah, it's like 4 pages of
Do we know
substance.
where they're taking the stuff? Do we care?
Well, that'll be up to Delaware to look at that. They're very concerned about it, but
So they would review the,
Where's the stuff being taken?
so they would
Yeah.
also review the proposals as they come in?
yeah, and I got it back of the envelope bid already, and I think they're gonna take it to Pennsylvania or something.
It has to be an approved site, which I think he has in the
Yeah.
resolution. So all of that has to be, you know, the hauler has to be certified.
Yeah.
It's, no, it's
The
all
weighted
like that.
material has to be certified, where it goes has to be certified, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just said we had a pretty nice presentation from Ty and Bond when we did Center Street, where they kind of laid out all the different bidders and where they were different. Are we gonna get a similar document from Delaware that says, here's the bidders, here's the?
Yeah, I'll ask
Yeah. I mean, it was just nice to be able to see,
Yeah,
have a little
for
bit.
sure.
Be able to
Well,
look under the hood a little
We're
bit.
asking for sealed bids, so we're gonna open them up and all of them will be.
And then we'll summarize them and
Yeah.
bring it.
Right, right, what I'm saying is, but Ty
An
and Bond
analysis.
did a nice job of analyzing it and showing where, and I'd like to see some analysis.
This is a little straighter it's more of a simple,
Right.
transaction,
We're,
but,
we're probably in the best position now of any time to
Yeah.
finally get rid of these biosolids that are there. And especially the fact that they're dried and been sitting there for a long time, gets rid of a lot of the water content that we would have been paying for. So it's really an opportune time to try to make this happen.
you spoke to the DEC, we said, hey, can we spread it on site? Nope,
Yeah,
don't.
Right.
which was done last time.
So,
Great, I mean, I think this makes a lot of sense. I have a couple of concerns about the RFP itself, if you want to.
well, okay. I was also gonna say that it would be subject to, as I always do, that it's subject to review by our legal counsel before we send it out.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not touching that side of it. It was more the point of contact at the moment is Brian Alex, and shouldn't the point of contact be either Martina or Kyle?
It's really gonna be like their
If you're
trucks in,
submitting
trucks
sealed
out.
bids, it all comes to the village office, especially if they're sealed bids. If you want somebody in addition at who they can talk to with the bid documents, I would put Brian Alex.
Yeah, I thought that was
As far
just for discussion, not
As far
for
as submitting
sending.
actual
It says,
proposals.
right now what it says, is the sole point of contact for this RFP is the chief water treatment plant operator.
Where's it returnable to?
That's the other part of it, is it doesn't say. So I think, because it says the sole point of contact for this RFP is, the chief water treatment plant operator, I think we need to break that out a little bit and say like, for information, contact Brian for, submission of the sealed bid, it has to go to Martina.
Yeah, I agree.
That's
Yeah,
a good point.
they have to come into the office.
And the other thing too, and this is probably, they just drafted it a while ago, but section 1.07B has the bid date sometime in 2022. So we
Well, that's
just-
what, I left that for an open,
Yeah,
so
we just-
for us to discuss tonight,
Yeah,
as we usually do.
yeah.
So while we're there, let's discuss it. I brought that concern up as well.
How long do we think that folks need? Is like a month appropriate?
I think so, yeah.
So maybe we can do the same thing.
45, how about 45?
I think it's longer than a month. I really
Yeah,
do.
just because everyone's super,
Why
folks
don't
are
we do
busy.
why don't we do the Friday before the November meeting then? I mean, that's almost 60 days, but well, no, because Delaware's gonna need some time to analyze them, so maybe.
Yeah, so we need to further.
So maybe more like 45 days.
Is there,
45 days.
can this be done over the winter even if it's freezing?
Sometimes,
That last Friday.
Yeah, we can do
Sometimes
October
that's-
27th. Is that last Friday in October?
Well, then the issue becomes, then it says 90 days after of contract award. So all work must be completed within 90 days after contract award, so we have to be careful.
Can they move it in the winter or not? Let's see, why not? As long as it's
Depends on the weather, right?
I mean, if it,
Right,
yeah, I would,
it's less likely to be frozen solid in November than it is in January.
even up to, Christmas, it's usually, you don't have a deep freeze, so I would think we'd be good up until then.
So if we get the-
January is
if we get the bids back,
wonky.
yeah, if we get the bids
Right.
back
That's
at the end of October and then assign and then approve the contracts on November, whatever it is.
Yeah, so section 108 on the work schedule, Lydia,
Yeah.
it talks about all work activities should be completed by November 1st. So that needs to be changed to give us more time to solicit, get the bids.
Right.
And then I think we should specify a period of number of days like it has for it to be completed. Kind of like what we have out here on Center Street. We said, you got 120 days from the time we award you to finish it, right? And so we could do the same thing here. We can say bid opening is 45 days from now, right? If that's an agreeable time, I think that's when we close for a lot of these people, but we could go there and see what we have.
Yeah.
And then we could discuss it at our November meeting, and at the November meeting, set a date for awarding the contract and completion. Is that okay?
I mean, at the moment, I mean, we would have to figure that out now or take out this work schedule
Right.
section. I think having some clarity on the work schedule to the person who's bidding is appropriate.
I think we need to hear from them. I don't know how long it's going to take them to do this.
I think we should stick with the.
Am I imagining that this is just loading a bunch of bags into a truck?
No, you're not. That's what it is.
It is.
It's just trucks are, like
It's
going
a lot of
for
trucks.
7 days in a row, like.
Oh, okay.
And a hard freeze is force majeure.
And weather conditions and all that.
It's gotta be super
Yeah.
hard freeze to really.
I mean, we could say all work activities have to be completed by like January 1st, 2024.
Yeah, I think that would be.
Yeah.
And then all work must still be completed within 90
And
calendar days of contract. Because if we're not going to award it until November, then that's pretty much.
Which speaking of
When
the
would-
board meeting is until the 14th.
What's 45 days out?
45 days out from today
Yeah.
is, what's this, which month are we in?
7 weeks.
Okay.
No, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
1, 2, 3,
1, 2,
just 6
3,
weeks.
4, 5, 6. It'd be like October 24th.
Oh, so the day I suggested.
Yeah, so October 27th is that Friday.
Yeah.
And then that gives them time to pull things together. Our next meeting, our meeting in November is the 14th.
We could call a special meeting to,
I'll take the last day would possibly be. What?
we can call a special meeting to award it,
Good.
just to
We
get the ball
could.
rolling.
I mean,
Unless you want to change the November meeting, because I'm also.
if we want to give them 45 days though, it's October 27th.
And that gives them enough time to evaluate the bids, give us the evaluation, so then we can have the discussion at our meeting.
Yeah.
That was the purpose. So then we will,
So that gives them like 10 days to
right,
crunch their numbers
right,
and then get back to us on the 14th. Okay.
yeah. And then,
Unlikely because that's election day and then we're
I know.
running into
I know,
Thanksgiving.
it would have to be like that day.
Yeah.
So sorry, Karen, I didn't hear.
so why don't we just take out the first part where it says all work activities shall be completed by November 1st, and
And just say all work must be completed within 90 calendar days.
within
of
90 days
contract
after contract award, or whatever date we want to,
award.
okay?
Okay.
So remove part A of work schedule,
1.08 part A.
1.08 work schedule part A, right? Because we already have a clause if something gets delayed, right, for anticipated reasons. Okay,
And you said
all right.
October.
Any other discussion?
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Is this
Aye.
part of the legal review?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Brad Doris.
So I have Brandt's motion, but who seconded?
Someone.
Nobody.
I seconded it.
First.
Okay.
Okay.
Vanessa?
All right, so at the last meeting, we put out an RFP to solicit proposals from farms within 4 miles of the village to work with us as a subcontractor for municipal composting. And we received one bid from Michael DeCola of Ellerslie Stables. And I would like to make a motion that we accept his proposal.
Second.
All right, discussion?
Questions?
Could we make the contract Subject to all necessary regulatory approvals?
Absolutely, yes. The next step will be,
Applicable, necessary,
yeah,
no, necessary is good enough. So we should-
yeah.
Sorry.
The next step would be to actually hammer out all the details and come up with an agreement.
Right.
So
Yeah,
much
this
more
doesn't
work to
give-
be done.
This doesn't give him the carte blanche to go.
No.
This is not
It's like a letter of intent.
Yeah.
agreement.
Exactly.
Would you
Okay.
like to prepare that letter of intent?
Okay,
Yeah.
And then just send it to me and
great. Yeah, we'll do.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Yay!
Well done, Vanessa.
Moving forward. That's great.
I was really anticlimactic.
Vanessa,
I know, so anticlimactic. There was no screaming involved. What?
We'll just wait, we haven't
you want to
hammered out the contract.
you want to give an update on the Village Hall HVAC?
Yeah, just a quick update. Today we had a kickoff meeting with ME Engineering, which is the firm we're working with to update the HVAC in this building. And it was great. They're going to do a lot of just schematic work and get back to us with an estimated budget. And then from there, we can figure out if we want to move forward. So I'm excited that project is moving along.
This is what we budgeted for this study.
We did budget for this study, yeah.
Perfect.
That it?
Bye.
Done?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
my only thing.
All right, special request. First one is a back to school. Every year, our wonderful Rhinebeck Central School System has a picnic at our mini park, which is, we call the Lions Mini Park. So this is a back to school barbecue for grades K through 12 in the district. Students, parents, and faculty with music, games, and food. It's sponsored by the Rhinebeck PTSO. And the date is on 9/15, which is 3 days from now. Friday. All right, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the Rhinebeck PTSO back to school barbecue.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Done.
Climate Smart will be there tabling. Yay.
The next one is Children's Halloween Parade, excuse me, I'm stuck on a party mode. So every year, the Ladies Auxiliary, and last year we, the Village of Rhinebeck, participated in helping to sponsor the Halloween Parade. It's a great event. You see like 400 or more children dressed in costume, plus a lot of adults who want to dress up as well. We close down East Market Street, make the corner, and head to the Legion. The reason we're involved and named in the request is we would submit to the DOT the permit for closing 308 and Route 9 for the period of the parade. So if you see in a flyer, you will see the flyer that clearly says it's sponsored by the American Legion and the Village of Rhinebeck. The event is Sunday, October 29th. Start time is 2 p.m. It's usually done by 3:30, but we allow a little bit of time to tear down because we set up barricades and do all of that kind of stuff to ensure. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the Ladies Auxiliary and Village of Rhinebeck Halloween Parade for October 29th.
Second.
Discussion?
Aren't they also using our, sorry, I might have missed that, you just said it, but aren't they also using our liability insurance?
That's what I said.
Yeah.
We do the DOT application,
Right.
right,
so
and
it's
our co-sponsor to that, so
Okay. Yep.
it's covered under our insurance.
Okay, great.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now I have a very, very, very special request. First time ever, we have a request for a butterfly release. And it's for the monarch. It's the monarch butterflies. And it's by Tom Johnson. Tom Johnson happens to be one of our highway employees as well, but he's doing this on his own time. And if those who know Tom, he's a fanatic about preservation of the monarch butterflies. He not only, makes sure they hatch, but he tags them and then helps monitor their flight. So he puts the tags on their wings and does all of this great stuff. And he's actually given a lot of presentations about it, but he wants to do a release over here in our Doughboy Park when they hatch. We can't specify a date because we don't know when they're going to hatch. But so it's whenever the monarchs come out, and he would set up in the parking lot on the across from the Doughboy and the flowers on a picnic bench and have a release. So we'll try to help coordinate this if the village should so approve, but for first ever Village of Rhinebeck monarch butterfly release by Tom Johnson, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Thanks for Tom. I know the difference between a
is it really-
Christmas and a...
Yes, so
We're not liable for the butterflies.
vaguely, whenever does this happen? When do they come out? Like
It's not so much an event, it's just.
so is he just gonna like sit on one of the park benches out there and release his monarchs? How fabulous. Do we have any idea when monarchs tend to come out of their whatevers, their cocoons?
I don't.
Chrysalises?
I don't.
Okay.
I think it's September at some point, probably, yeah.
Okay, so it's like, this is the next spring or something?
No, it's going to be this fall.
Oh, okay,
It's going to be
great.
this fall. Yeah. Get credit on the monarchs, will you?
Yeah, really.
I know.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye, Tom says aye.
Aye. All right.
Primer.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from 8/8/23.
Second, with the comments that I sent, and
Yes.
the comments that Vanessa sent.
Yes.
I'll abstain.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, very good. All right, Rick, you got 3 minutes.
Excellent. There are 3 pieces of action.
Tree Commission.
Tree Commission,
Sorry.
thank you, right, thank you. Tree Commission. There are 3 action items for the board today. We received the commission received a application to actually move a tree from the Stickles at 42 Mulberry Street, Billiman Batch, from 6 Chestnut Street to remove a dead maple, which is on one of our hazardous tree lists, and also from 19 Chestnut Street to prune 2 crab apples and 1 maple tree. The commission voted to approve the moving of the tree at 42 Mulberry, the removal of the tree at 6 Chestnut, and the pruning by a certified arborist at 19 Chestnut. So I'd like a motion to accept the tree commission's recommendations.
Second. Any discussion?
Oh, my brain. The tree in front of the Stickles house was discussed as part of the demolition permit process in front of the planning board.
So actually he came, they were very nice. Basically what the situation is, as I understand it, if you can picture the house.
Yep,
There's a tree to the south.
that was fairly recently planted.
That was
by
fairly
the tree
recent.
commission. Right.
However, that is where the new driveway by code needs to go.
Okay,
So the tree is going to go where the old driveway is.
right,
They're going to remove the old driveway, and the tree and the driveway are going to swap places.
got it.
And the way it's going to happen is that tree is going to be dug up by Dave's, burlapped up, tended to until they can rip out the old driveway and replant it.
Is that happening this fall before November, right?
Yes, yes. I mean, as expeditiously, and actually,
Is Dave's gonna babysit the tree and make sure it stays alive?
well, I think the Stickles will.
Or-
So this is a,
do our best.
Yeah, and actually, I think it was your son.
trees.
Yes, your son came to the meeting. He was just terrific
Yeah.
and really explained all that you're doing. So.
yeah, this is very well explained in the minutes.
No, I'm reading the minutes, but I just remember that this tree specifically was part of the conversation from the planning board as well, so this tree is
Yes.
getting a lot of airtime at the moment.
and TLC, which is wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is wonderful, but,
Yeah.
okay, great.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, Climate Solutions Week is coming up. Kicks off this Sunday. And we have events running here in Rhinebeck as well as all over the Hudson Valley. These are all supposed to be fun and informational and inspirational. We're really trying to provide the public reasons for hope and empowering actions that you can do in your own life as we deal with climate change. So folks who are interested can go to climatesmartrhinebeck.org/Climate Week and see the whole list of events. It's not just the Village Task Force, Climate Smart Rhinebeck, it's also partners like Star Library, Morton, Free Screening at Upstate Films. We're partnering with the schools to do another walking school bus with the kids. So a lot of different options for folks to check out. And Hudson Valley wide, there's stuff going on all over the place. So it's an exciting time. A plug for our September 26th meeting here at Village Hall at 6 p.m. about sidewalks and walkability in the village. So hope people can come and share their thoughts.
Do you need someone from the comp plan committee there, ideally, or not?
That would be great.
Which date?
September 26th,
Sorry,
6 p.m.
Do we have a special meeting already?
Yes, that's
Yep.
it.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking
That's
about.
the purpose.
Yeah. I wanted to highlight the September 23rd event. We're partnering with the town on something called a community campaign through NYSERDA, which is New York State's energy research, blah, blah, blah. And basically, this event is to kick off a campaign to try to get folks to purchase electric vehicles. If we can get 5 Rhinebeckers to purchase an electric vehicle or a plug-in hybrid, we get a $5,000 grant. So if you were waiting to purchase a vehicle, now is your moment. Please let me know. And come on down to the 23rd at the town park, in the parking lot. We're going to have neighbors who have already made the switch there with their EVs, so you can chat with them and maybe take a ride. Rugies will also be there with 4 shiny new models. So it will be a fun event. We'll have an ice cream truck there and other partners tabling.
The ribbon.
Yes, yes, we'll have a Ford F-150 Lightning. We're gonna have a Rivian.
You're actually finding one of those?
Yes.
Wow.
We're gonna have Mach-E. We're gonna have, I think, a BMW. We're gonna have lots of Chevy Bolts. So lots of options for people to check out. Okay, one other update I wanted to mention is that we were talking with Sustainable Westchester, and they offered to bring us into a community solar project, where if we subscribe our municipal properties to that, we save 10% off of our electricity bill. Not the bill, but like the electricity portion of that bill. So we have signed up. We've signed up to be considered for this. So they're trying to slot in our municipal accounts. For instance, our water and wastewater accounts are such energy hogs, they might not be able to fit those in. And because this building has solar on its roof, you can't like double dip. So, but we're trying to do this to try to switch our energy source to renewables and to save some money. So stay tuned for more on that. And then with CAPI, we're at the phase where we're trying to set some goals. And for 2030, how are we going to get to a 40% reduction in our carbon emissions? So I think pretty soon I'll have some charts and graphs to show us if we take this or that action, how we're going to get there.
Quick question, the September 26th meeting, unfortunately I won't be able to attend, but remind me exactly what it's about, and so
yeah,
when I tell people, when I invite the comp plan.
Great, yeah, and I think Rick and I maybe we'll write up a little more.
Yeah, well, I think we'll advertise it. Basically, the federal government is rumored to be soon releasing the Transportation Alternative Program grants.
Oh.
And these are very large grants. They are released every 3 to 5 years. And we have 2 projects that are we could potentially think about doing. one of which would be to implement, or try to implement parts of the 2011 sidewalk study. The other one would be to implement the most recent study we had done on the Route 9 corridor.
Okay.
And so we'd need to talk about how much it's going to cost, what are the village priorities, and the process would be that the bidding process is set up.
Okay.
The bidding process is set up such that we can hire a consultant engineer basically on spec who will prepare, if the TAP grants become available, prepare all the documents, do all that kind of stuff, and they only get paid if the project is awarded.
Okay.
So we wanted to be able. The reason why we started this, we're pushing this a bit, is because this is the first window for the TAP grants in a while.
Okay.
It is competitive, and we want it to be kind of rolling. We wanted to have a little momentum.
And it's not, it doesn't come around every year.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't think it's either or. I think it's either
Or
or.
we can discuss. Right, we can discuss. It's really.
So we want to hear from the public. We want to know which sidewalks, which stretches where would you like to be able to walk more safely or ride your bike. And in particular, we're looking at that Route 9 through the village. And then secondly, what we're kind of calling our Safe Route to School, which is finishing the sidewalks on Knollwood and South Parsonage, up by the Lions Mini Park, up to the intersection, the crazy intersection with the flashing light. Should there be crosswalks there? Those are the things we want people to come and tell us how they feel about, you know, spending some money on that stuff.
Can you attach that highway study again? So I don't have to dig for it?
You mean the 2011?
The Route 9 study?
The Route 9 study.
No,
Route 9 study.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll bring it forward. I think if you want to have a robust discussion.
The sidewalk study is on the comp plan website.
Oh, is it?
DOT.
Can we have both though, like you just see it and look at either one?
Sure.
And we have
a hard copy of the sidewalk study.
I think, so just so everybody knows, the comp plan committee on its website has a whole bunch of reference documents, including the walking study, not including
The Route 9
the
corridor.
Route 9 corridor, so we should put that one on.
Okay.
So if you could send that to me, or resend it, or
Right.
point me in a direction of a OneDrive folder.
While you're up, you're next on the schedule for conference.
I just wanted to mention that the comp plan continues to meet second Thursday of every month, so it's meeting this Thursday at 6 p.m. They are getting really close to basically the bulk of the conversation concluding. So, you know, the priority of recommendations, this, that, and the other, they're getting really close, and we should actually have a full draft. If not in October, then in November. And then of course they'll be wrestling with the draft, but super exciting. They've put in a ton of work. I can't thank them enough for their time and effort and all the rest of it. And our planner, Michelle Gregg, is also working through COVID at the moment, so she's also amazing. And so if you're curious, there's minutes on the website, but it feels imminent at the moment. Just saying, I feel like we're in the third trimester. So, FYI.
Thank you. Okay, now it's that time where we get to recognize our employees, which I always appreciate. And so we have several anniversaries that I'd like to announce. The first is our water plant operator trainee, Tom Mueller, who's been with us 1 year. Tom has just done a phenomenal job in our water department, working closely with Karen and everybody else, and bringing a lot of our records up to date as we move forward. So thank you, Tom, and glad you're here. Next, Chief Water Plant Operator, Brian Alex. If anybody's not had a chance to talk to Brian, do it.
Good,
right?
Meg.
This guy, he's just incredible. He looks like he's only 20, and he probably is only 20, but he is just.
He's 30.
Yeah, he is just a wealth of knowledge in terms of what he does and the work he does in managing one of our critical resources, which is our water treatment plant. So kudos to Brian. Thank you for being here. Brian's been here now 10 years. We're glad you're in the position you are. And another supervisor, our highway working supervisor, Scott Min. about 28 years in the highway department. If you think anybody who knows the village of Rhinebeck, right, just ask Scott. He'll tell you where every little crack and crevice is in the village. So Scott, thank you for everything that you do and the planning that you put in to keeping our highways safe and operating. So now, sad news, right? And the sad news here is it's always sad when we lose somebody, not due to any other circumstance, but they're resigning and they're retiring from our police force. So after 30 years, 30 years as a part-time police officer for the village of Rhinebeck, Beth Imparato, who has not only served as a police officer, has been an SRO for many of those years. And SRO stands for Student Resource Officer. So she's at the school, she knows the kids, they miss her a lot already. She's been out for the past year taking care of family, and she's also on our bicycle patrol. So we're gonna miss Beth a lot, but Beth has decided that it's time to move on. So we are going to present Beth. She does not want to be here for this. She does not want to have any celebration or anything else. So we're going to call her in one day and we're going to hand her this beautiful plaque thanking Beth for her service to the village of Rhinebeck and police officers, and wish her well into her next chapter of her life. So thank you, Beth. Okay, with that.
I just need a motion for you to accept her resignation.
What?
I need a motion for you to accept her resignation.
Oh, really?
We don't. Yes.
So we have a choice over that.
So
Yeah, I know. You're right. All right, so I'd like to make a motion to officially accept the resignation of Beth Imparato, Shield number 8, which will be going with her from the village of Rhinebeck.
With regret.
With regret.
Yeah.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So done. Okay, with that, I'd like to make a motion to, since you're our only guest left, thank you for staying with us. We so much appreciate your company and hanging in there to the very last minute with us. But I'd like to make a motion to end this wonderful journey that we've had together and adjourn our meeting for September 12th.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.